I've got one that can see.
Logic before authority. Hi guys, this is Daniel Alexander Cannon here on Logic Before Authority. Today we are going to continue down the path that we've been going. And if you're hearing this and don't know what I'm talking about, it means you need to back up some videos. Meaning go back down and look at previous videos. Really, if you want to get to the beginning of the story, you got to watch everything on the channel. But because there's some of this mixed in with everything, because everything is related, apparently. So we're digging more into the Nephilim, the giants of old, and the giants of today. And what I'm trying to do, and to those of you who have not seen with your own eyes or heard with your own ears or had some other kind of proof, would not understand why I would mention something such as a Sasquatch, a Sabi, or a Bigfoot, or a Yeti, or these legendary creatures that tens of thousands of people say exist, and the other people who haven't seen or heard or had enough evidence seems to think they don't exist, because, well, they don't have enough evidence. That's the way everything exists and works in life. It's like I didn't understand how, and some of you will understand this, the word world is not spelled correctly in the current usage. The correct spelling is W-H-I-R-L-E-D, world, because that is what we live in, is a world. It's a environment based on sacred geometry. Not all knowledge is evil, and not all knowledge is evil. And not all knowledge is good either, obviously. But I want to find out and understand better, is there, and I highly suspect there is, but I'm not going to make that declaration without more research, more understanding, more digging in many different areas to understand it. And yes, if you can go back on my channel, you'll find where I explain some of the encounters that I've had with what people have been calling this thing Bigfoot or Sabi or Sasquatch or whatever. Yes, I've had some encounters. And better than that, I absolutely know these beings are real. They're as real as we are, but they are not. They are like us, but let's say they have half our DNA and half the DNA of something immaculate. Something that when they use the tools of today to try to analyze DNA, comes back saying there's no father in the DNA. It all comes up like it's a mother, and like there was no father there, like it was immaculate somehow. And we discussed this in my last video when it come to Esau and his brother Jacob being born, and the fact that his father Isaac and Rebecca, the mother, Rebecca was barren, and Isaac had to, and the word it used was entreated, I believe. Apologize if I say that incorrectly, but entreated with the Lord. And then all of a sudden Rebecca has a large, hairy head to toe child that is covered in red hair, head to toe, covered so much that it, in order to fool Isaac later, they had to cover Jacob with goat hair, goat skin, in order to fool his father Isaac into believing that it was actually Esau. So hopefully that's enough explanation for anybody new. So now let's get on into it. We're going to look at Esau some more, but in the beginning of this video, I wanted to read this because it's pretty interesting. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this, and I've read it before, but I'm going to read it and kind of look at this is doing research live. This is, I say live, this technically isn't live. I'm recording this, and it will be likely released as a premiere, which will allow me and y'all guys to be in the chat and say things and such. It connects us a little better, okay, as a premiere. I could do these as lives, I suppose. But anyways, we're doing the research now. So let's go. I wanted to read Isaiah 13. What does that have to do with this subject? Well, let's read it and let's see if it does have to do with this subject. It's called The Burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amoz did see. Okay, Isaiah 13, which Isaiah the son of Amoz. So, okay, number 2, or verse number 2, 13:2. Lift up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand, that they may go into the gates of the nobles. Okay. Typically what you have to do with things like this is you have to translate this stuff. Anything that's even questionable, you have to go back and look at the Strong's translation of what it's saying in order to understand what it means. Okay. I'm not going to do this on this particular verse, but we will be doing that. Okay. 13:3. I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones for mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. Okay. And it says, okay, so 13:4. Well, let's look at definitions of this, because we are, like I say, this is not just a video where I've got it all figured out, understood, and then record it. This is doing the actual research and work and recording it while I'm doing it. And y'all guys seem to enjoy the last one really well, so I'm doing it again. And it helps save me a lot of time too. So it says, my sanctified ones. Let's look at the definition of that. And because it's translated from Hebrew, okay? And Hebrew language is much more complex in some ways than the English language. Okay, it says, and again we're looking at my sanctified ones, and what that means in Hebrew. It says to be, causally make, pronounce, or observe as clean, ceremonially or morally, appoint, bid, consecrate. So this is my sanctified ones. Consecrate, delicate, defile, hallow, be, keep, holy, or place, keep, prepare, proclaim, purify, sanctify, holy. Okay. So it means people of, I would assume it means all my people of good morals and that kind of thing, right? Okay, so it's basically what we thought, or we hopefully understand it correctly. Sanctified ones. And I've also called my mighty ones. Okay, well, what are the mighty ones? Let's look at what mighty has to say. And of course, right off, I see the word giant is here. Now, does that mean that's what they meant? Well, you can normally look into the pronunciation of the word, or go over here and look at the various different ways that it's been used in other verses, and you can normally start understanding most likely what is being meant by the word. Okay, so for instance, we're looking at mighty ones. So let's look at Genesis 4. Here we go. Genesis 6:4. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto our daughters, into the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Okay. And if you look up what men of renown means, it'll have the word giant in there as well. Okay. And in the Old Testament, the word giant is used a few times, but the majority of the time, due to the different languages and everything that existed at the time, the giants are called other names, and there are many other names. They typically, and I'm not saying exclusively, but typically they're finished. The name of what they called them, will be finished with the word ite, I-T-E, that kind of thing. But it's not always, because you think of the word Raphaim. Okay, wrath, I am, basically is what it's saying, wrath. Or wrath. Wrath I am is what is meant by that. Wrath. Who is wrath? Well, I explained in a few videos back where wrath comes from and how it started. All right. So you can see, you can go back and look at the other ways. Like this one, it says, and Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. So there you have it again. We're talking about giants. Okay. Mighty men. It didn't say average man, tent dwelling man. It said mighty man. All right. I have also called my mighty. This is what this is this is a vision or a prophecy of an event to come in the future. And he called it the burden of Babylon. Okay. All right. 13:4, the noise of a multitude in the mountains. Okay. Well, I do know something for sure, is that these half human, half, we'll just call it half human for now. And no, we're not talking about monkeys. I don't know what you've learned or seen when it comes to the idea of Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Savvy, whatever you want to call them. And they exist all over the world, but they are not monkeys. Okay, they are half human. The DNA has been found, many copies of it, and they have looked at it. And because they don't understand what they're looking at, they will assume that it was wrong, because it shows that it has a female mother, human. Hang on, guys. Okay, I'm sorry about that, guys. Let me tell you how I know that I'm on the right path, and that I'm studying the right thing, and that I'm bringing forth to you what I should be. Sorry. Because I'm having the most difficult time in my life, especially since I've started doing this work and being able to record and do this work and even do the research, and especially when I go to put it in the Word to be shared with all of you. The attacks, accusations, all kinds of things. And I know why. So I do ask y'all guys for your prayers for me. Please mention me in your prayers to our Father. I know He has angels here around me. They've been around me my whole life. They've saved my life many times. And to the spirits and the dark spirits out there that think that they are going to stop me from doing this work, I say this to them: you're going to fail. You've already failed, and you are going to the dark. You're going back where you came from. You're not going to prevail over someone trying to do something that is righteous and doing work for the Lord and for his children, my brothers and sisters. I will not stop. I will never stop. And my God, my Father in heaven, will protect me against all things. Yes, y'all guys can run and you can shout, just like what was going on just a few minutes ago. And you can scream, and you can even burn the house down. You can do anything you want, but you will not lay a finger on me. You have been after me my whole life, and every time y'all guys come for me, the dark side comes for me, they are thwarted. I'm not going to explain it right now. There's videos on my channel explaining about how I should be dead. So when the darkness comes from me, my Father in heaven turns on the light, reaches in and pulls me out. How all that works, I don't know, but it does. But just know that I am going through tumultuous troubles and attacks and accusations. It really makes me understand about the accuser who accuses night and day. All right, let's get back to the work. And I don't know exactly where I left off, but let's keep going. I'm going to start with 4 again. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord, and the weapons of his indignation, to destroy the whole land. And there may be, I apologize guys, these attacks that keep happening to me, it's got so intense over the last 6 months. It's unbelievable what I've been going through, and I don't come on and talk about it. There's probably been some indications, obviously me not putting out as many videos, but they're not going to stop us. So I was going to say there's probably some things in here we might need to look at the definition of, but what I really want to get to is number 6, 13:6. But let's look back here. Noise of the multitude in the mountains again, because this is a study together. It's not a, like I already got something figured out and I want to show it to you. It's a study, and we're doing it together. So the noise of a multitude in the mountains. Let's just turn on the Strongs to see where, here we go. The noise of the multitude, so you can look and see which pieces were translated in which words, the groups of words together, because it kind of means something, at least to me. So in the mountains, like as of a great people. Okay, so of a great or people, we could define that a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the hosts of the battle. Okay. I'll take that back off. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven. So I'm going to turn it back on. From the end, and then of heaven. It's very interesting. Let's see, from the end translates into extremity, after, border, brink, edge, from the edge of heaven, from the brim of heaven, border of heaven. Sound like something where angels maybe would come from. Outcast, quarter, I'm just thinking out loud. I'm not proclaiming anything. Okay, let's come back over here. So they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, and the weapons of the indignation. A loud car. Now people are screaming in the backyard again. I rebuke thee in the name of our Father in heaven to leave us alone and let us do our work here. Send thine angels to muster these people away from me, my Lord. All right, so let's go ahead and go to 6 now. This is a very interesting one, and I'm going to show you why. Now, I got an ad popped up. Hang on just a second. Okay, you never know what you're going to see in the ads. Normally, it's video games and stuff about the beast and everything else. Okay, 6. How ye. How? I didn't even know the word how was in the Bible, but it is. How? Now, why is that interesting? Because that's one of my situations where I had an experience with these beings. It was with them howling in the woods near the house where I lived a few years ago. And they howl. When they howl, typically, well, typically at nighttime, although you can go and hunt down information that could be various different times, but for me it was at midnight. And then at 3 in the morning, I would hear them sound like drumming or some kind of ritual beating of the ground is what I would hear. So, but I would hear the howl, and it was the long howl, like kind of like this. And of course, you're not gonna understand, but but it would go. It kind of sounded like a cow to start with. It would be like, and it was just real long and drawn out, way longer and drawn out, way louder, huge bass that I would hear. These things howling, these beings howling in the woods. And I was going to say about the mountain thing up here too, about the mountains, is that they not only live in the mountains, they live in the swamps, because most of the land, all the land around here is flat, and there's swamps and rivers and lots of conifer trees, pine trees, and they live here. This is in South Carolina, and I'm referring to Georgetown County, South Carolina, out in the swamps. And I heard them howl 3 times one night at midnight, and it was the kind of sound that stopped you in your tracks. So I find it interesting here that it says, "Howl ye for the day of the Lord." And this may not be related at all, and I'm not saying it is, but I can't ignore it. It needs to at least be recognized that it says, "Howl, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as..." Yep, and now my PC's messing with me. Hang on. Okay, got it relaunched, and I increased the font size so you could see a little bit better. I noticed that I could do that, and I didn't realize it. Even my PC, it keeps crashing. It don't crash all the way, but I just have to stop, and it always does it when I'm recording lately. It's just started in the last couple months. Okay, let's keep going. Y'all guys understand what I'm dealing with here, and this is part of why I typically record, get all the research done, and then record and edit it and do all that. But if I can do it this way, it's helpful. So howl. Okay, so let's look at the definition on howl. Let me find it. Here it is. Howl. Okay, it says the primitive root to howl, and it says the pronunciation for the word howl is yaw lel. Yaw lel. like yodel almost, but there's no D. Y'all, lel. Word y'all, certainly interesting. That's part of the pronunciation. But y'all, to howl with a wailing tone or yell with a boisterous one. Howl, be howling. To howl with a wailing tone. And that's exactly what these things sound like. That's a definition for the sound I heard. To howl with a wailing tone. And it was very loud and very deep. And I grew up in these woods around here and know there's nothing, not one thing in these woods that can make that sound. Well, except for these beasts. Or I don't know what they are, so I don't even like calling them beasts. Yes, there are indications in all kind of directions, but I don't know, so therefore I cannot say until I do know what we're dealing with here. I have my knee-jerk reactions of this, and I understand it, but I'm not going to speak it until I know. All right, so let's go back over here. So we looked at howl and what's going on there. I'll just leave that highlighted. Okay, so I find that fascinating, right? The howl thing. But let's look. Let's go back to howl again. Let's click on it. And I wanted to see all the different books that say the word howl. And you can see that Isaiah, the one that we're in right now, has it 11 times. And then we just read the first one. Okay. And here's the second one, which is Isaiah 14:12. O art thou fallen from heaven? This is the second use in the entire Bible. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? So you see, we go right from that, and it's saying it means the same thing as talking about Lucifer falling. Let's read again. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Wow. Let's look at the third one. This is 14:31. It says, howl, O gate, cry, O city, thou whole Palestina art dissolved, for there shall come from the north a smoke, and none shall be alone in his appointed times. There shall come from the north a smoke. To me, again, this brings me back. It makes me think of Moses on the mountaintop and the smoke, that kind of thing. Okay, let's keep going with another one here. He is gone up to Bajith and Dibon, the high places, to weep. Moab shall howl over Nebo and over Medeba. On all their heads shall be baldness, and every beard cut off. I mean, this is talking about locations and areas that are all known for the giants, for the Nephilim, whatever you want to call them, Raphaim, and many other names that they have. And I'll show you a lot of those names as we go. I'm going to put together kind of like a list, because I think that's going to be part of what I need to do, and to analyze those words that were chosen and look at the etymology of the words and determine why were they called one word like Nephilim or Raphaim, right? Or Roth I am. We need to understand that. Okay, so you can see that this howl thing is repeating and has to do with the giants. It says, in their streets, this is Isaiah 15:3, in their streets they shall gird themselves with sackcloth. On the tops of their houses and in their streets, everyone shall howl, weeping abundantly. Okay. It makes me wonder, when you hear these things howling, what does it mean to them? Because I'm sure it means something. It would be easy to say it's just a communication between one or the other. But why do they make that same howl all over the world? In all different locations. Why is it that they howl? And if you don't know the howl I'm talking about, just go looking for it. On YouTube, you can find it. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. All right. Back over here. Let's turn off the Strongs. All right. 7. Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. Remember what I've said before about how many of the stories in the Bible are telling the same story from a different prophet's perspective, or how the vision that he comes to understand plays out. You know, how they come to understand it and choose the words in order to try to get the story across to you. This is reminding me as well of other, like, stories from Daniel and Revelations and several others. Okay, so therefore all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. And they shall be afraid, pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as woman who travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames. And why would they be amazed one at another, and their faces be as flames? Of course, it's terror of things that are coming upon the earth, or coming before them, of course. At least that's what I feel. 9. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel both with wrath, or wrath, like Wrath's child, wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. Okay. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened. Now you see how this is again going right back and telling a similar story that's told in other books, right? The stars not giving their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. Part of what we're talking about here, which I've talked about before, is that part of this is an eclipse. It's what we call, the word that we have for it, eclipse. It's when apparently, we'll just call it the way it's typically described, the moon in front of the sun kind of phenomenon, right? I seen the one in 2017. I was standing on the 33rd parallel in just north of Charleston, South Carolina. At the 33rd parallel is where I stood. And the 33rd parallel is exactly where the eclipse passed out over the ocean. Straight up above me, I was watching it. It was amazing. Most unbelievable, amazing thing I've ever seen in the heavens. And I knew that night when I seen that how important it was. And we're going to see another one here, April of next year. So just over a year from now, depending on when you watch this video. We're going to see The sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. We're going to see that again. And it will be in the form across America as the image of an X. Very much the same exact if you look at NASA's, or better one even, SpaceX's logo, it's an X, SpaceX, right? But if you look at that X and you overlay it with the two eclipses, the one that happened in 2017, the one that's getting ready to happen in just over a year from now, you will see that the SpaceX logo, the X, is the same as the crossing of the eclipses across the United States. NASA's is also, it's called a vector. It's that arch, that curve, is what they call it. Okay. You think it's by coincidence that those are the same? No, of course not. It's intentional, and they know. They know that there will come a time when the sun will not give its light, or shall be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. They know that this is a moment, and how frightening, due to my fear of God, my fear of my Father. Because that's going to be the moment. If you recall, when Christ was crucified, the sun did not give its light. Yep. For how long? 3 hours. How long does an eclipse last? Well, technically it lasts about 3 hours. But the actual totality is only just a few minutes. Yeah. I would imagine that, and I'm not saying this, proclaiming it, but I would imagine it played out where the sun started going dark, and when Christ passed, it was the moment of where you could see the corona, the halo, the totality, as they call it. That was the moment of and there goes my computer. And it crashed again. Hang on, guys. Okay. So as you can see, I am battling it in every way. And I mean, if you were living my life, you would understand every way. Okay. It's meant to throw me off. But we're going to continue, aren't we? Yep, we sure are. All right, so you understood what I was saying about the eclipse and everything, and how important this is, and how this is in the same image of the other stories that are in the Bible that talk about the day of the Lord, right? Okay. And it says, this is 11, and I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. Now, we definitely got to look at that one. Where'd it go? I just highlighted it yellow. No, it's not there in yellow, but I see it right here. Okay. The golden wedge of the Ophir. Let's look at the Ophir. It says, "Oh fear, oh fear." Very similar to the word fear itself, but let's look here. "Oh fear, the name of a son of Joktan, and of a gold region in the east." And this whole gold story obviously is highly important as well. Okay, I clicked on the golden wedge thing. something carved out, hence gold pure as originally mined. Okay. All right. That's where we were at. So let me read it one more time. And I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Vifar. So more precious, meaning fewer, than the finest gold is rare. That's what it's saying. Okay. Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place. Meaning that she is not flying through space based on some fantasy that the serpent has claimed otherwise. In the wrath of the Lord of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. And it shall be as the chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one into his own land. Now we certainly see a lot of fleeing going on, don't we? Running to and fro. Lots of people fleeing to Florida. Lots of people fleeing out of the New York and other big cities. We're seeing a lot of that. But let's look at this here where it says, and it shall be as the chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. So a sheep that no man taketh up is a sheep that's, his wool is going to be in full growth, certainly. And it says, they shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one in his own land. 15, every one that is found shall be thrust through, and every one that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. So death to the evil ones is coming, according to this text, this prophecy. Do you know why? I've come to understand this recently, why prophecy is, why it's written, and why it's done, why it's important to prophesy against evil, and to get that prophecy into the minds and hearts of as many people as you possibly can, because it's part of the manifestation project, the way God works, obviously. Okay. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished. Talking about the evil ones. So there's let me read the next verse, and then I'll say what I was going to say. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. The Medes, okay, Medes. Ma'da-e is the pronunciation. Ma'da-e, something like that. It says a foreign abbreviation, Mahdia, a country of Central Asia, Mahdia, Maldives, Media. Very interesting, because these people being called up do not consider, says, shall not regard silver. So in other words, you can't beg your way out, rich boy. Shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Meaning that gold, they especially don't like. who would be the people that don't care about the idols of men? A mountain man might not. Never heard any story of these beings that live in the woods. Never heard any stories of them collecting idols and gold and things like that. It says, their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eye shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of the kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, if you know the whole story about Sodom and Gomorrah, you know that there were giants and Nephilim all over that story. But does that make all of these beings evil? Or does it make them something that God could not use for his will? I'm letting you answer the questions. I'm just giving I'll let you choose the answers. I'm just giving some questions, because they're questions I have that I don't have answers to for sure. Okay, 20. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. This reminds me, well, let me finish the verse. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures. And owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. Wow. Okay. Now this reminds me a little bit, of course, of Babylon. It's the original Babylon in Iraq, that to this day, apparently, no one lives there. It hasn't been rebuilt. But I also know that times repeat, and Babylon has been rebuilt and will be destroyed again. Okay, so 21 is very interesting, because it says, houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and the satyrs shall dance there. So let's look at some of these definitions. Okay, so doleful creatures, H255. Hebrew translation for doleful creatures is oek, something like that. Says a howler. Holy moly. I haven't pre-read this. This is just me doing this, okay? So the doleful creatures are called the oeka, something like that. I know I'm pronouncing it wrong, and somebody's saying it out there in the correct way. Oech. So maybe this K is kind of like a C, oech. A howler or lonesome wild animal, doleful creature. Let's look at the base word. A variation of another base word. Oh, okay, so it's an expression of grief or surprise. Or alas. So it's related to that. Okay, let's look one more. A primitive word expressing pain. Okay, exclamatory, oh or ah. Okay. So now we know a closer understanding of what doleful creatures means. Things that howl. Okay. And it says, and owls. Now, owls is a very interesting component of this because owls are the watchers. And their face and head and even the way their head functions and its ability to turn around 360 degrees, their face is in the image of the Taurus. You may or may not understand what I'm saying. I've explained it in detail in other videos about the Taurus and even talking about the owl. But the owls have something else to them related to these beings, to this type of people that lives in the woods. The owl is, I'll just say it like I think it is, and I'm saying I think because I don't know. It's like the owl is used as eyes for them. It's like they can send an owl to watch, and they can see the visions through the owl's eyes. Look, I said I think. I didn't say I know. I'm thinking out loud. I'm sharing my thoughts, okay? But there's something very special about the owl. And I know many of you have heard things about the owls and stuff. All right. So the owls. Let's look at Setars. And it says it's pronounced Sawir. Sawir. Okay. It says shaggy, meaning hairy, as a noun, a he-goat by analogy. Here's my computer again, acting up. I'm going to have to end up getting a new PC. Which one that can do what I'm doing is, I don't know how I'm going to get one, but I'm going to get one. Father will make a way. So devil, goat, hairy. Remember how they put on Esau, they chose a goat's hair to put on Jacob so he could fool his father Isaac into making him believe he was Esau? That is not lost in what this means right here. Shaggy as a noun, a he-goat by analogy, a fawn, devil, goat, hairy kid. And of course, that's what they requested. That's what Rebekah requested Jacob to do, was to go get a kid goat and to take his fur off of him and then wear it to fool his father while he's serving him the goat to eat. That is just amazing how all these things seem to be lining up with what our study is about. Don't you think? Let's look at the base word here, H8175. Okay. It says it's pronounced sawar. Okay. It says to storm. By implication, to shiver, fear, horrible, be afraid, fear, hurl as a storm, be tempestuous, come like, take away as with a whirlwind, which is a Taurus. The Bible says over and over, God speaks out of the Taurus. Well, if he's speaking out of a Taurus and earth is as is heaven, then we have two Tauruses, which is why you have a bi-bull, two bulls, two horns, two Tauruses, bi meaning two. That is what it means, and that's what heaven looks like. Ooh. Oh, Lord, thank you. Okay. Wow, wow, wow. So now we can read it and understand it better. Right? Satyrs, doleful creatures. What is it describing? It's describing exactly what we know as Bigfoot, right? Yet, I still am not saying for sure that's what it is, because our study is not done. It says, and the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses. So it's said here that these beasts are going to come. This is what this prophecy is saying. These beasts are going to come out of the mountains and come down and slaughter the evil humans that exist. And then they will dance in their vacant houses and celebrate and worship the Lord. Let's read 22 again. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant places. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. Who is her? We seem to have a lot of problems with hers, don't we? Like Rebecca. Wow. Or Eve. Okay, let's look at the definitions here. Let's look at wild beasts of the islands, okay? H338. And, of course, we get a howler, solitary wild creature, wild beast of the islands. Let's look at the base word. Woe. Similar word for alas, the woe. And you know what? And again, I'm thinking out loud. I'm not proclaiming. I'm not prophesizing. But what are these creatures in the woods known for yelling? What did they yell? What did they say? They say woo. Woo! Whoop! Whoop! They basically say whoa in the woods when they're howling. Again, I'm not saying that is fact. I'm merely making an observation to share with you. The same thing goes for howling. And here it is that these creatures is saying to howl in the verses. And they're saying they're creatures. Well, you've seen it. I ain't making this up. Now, I realize the Hebrew word for it is E, which I don't know how to pronounce it other than E. But the woe thing and the howl thing and the go along with the... Well, thank you, Lord, for showing us these things and helping us to understand them, because we truly want to know. We want to know the truth, the Lord, our Father. We want to know everything. If it be your will. Okay, let's see any other. Let's look. We looked at wild beasts of the islands, the howlers. Now let's look at the. Let's look at the dragons here. See what it says. Intensive from the same, and of course this is talking about a dragon, beast out of the sea or something other, sea monster. Okay. Anyways, it says. Let's go ahead and click on this and bring it up this way. It's referencing Ezekiel 29:3. We'll take a look at that. Intensive from the same as, and we'll look at what the base word is in a second. A marine or land monster. Sea serpent or jackal. Dragon, sea monster, serpent, whale. Jackal. The jackal reminds me of the legends of the dog man. Not saying that's what it is. And I ain't going to spend much time on that at the moment, but I'm not going to forget it. Ezekiel 29:3. Do we have Ezekiel over here? Probably do. Okay, there's 29:3. See what Ezekiel was saying. Speak and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against thee, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, the great dragon that lieth in the midst of his rivers, which hath said, My river is mine own, and I have made it for myself. Wow. So this ties back to the dog-headed God that is depicted in Egyptian images of all types. Y'all guys have seen them. The dog-headed, the jackal, the Pharaoh king, the great dragon that lieth in the midst of the rivers, with that said, My river is mine own, and I have made it for myself. Woo-wee. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I know some words are coming to your mind right now. Like, well, there will come a time and there will come a place where we're going to tie all this together, and it's coming soon. Lord, be willing. Continue to give me the breath to say the words. So within the definition, we get a reference that takes us to the image of a beast or a lower god that they called. He looked like a man with the head of a dog. And there are many stories around the world of a dog-headed man that lives in the woods. Looks more like an upright canine, but a vicious one. And no, I'm not saying that they are real because I haven't had an experience. I have had experiences with what is known as the Bigfoot, or whatever you want to call it. But not the jackal, and I don't want one. I don't want an experience with that creature. Wow. This is amazing. This is a true understanding, or gaining understanding. So we looked at dragons, we looked at beasts of the islands, we looked at satyrs, we looked at doleful creatures. It's all saying Bigfoot. You understand this? That's what it's saying. To me, that's what I see. Now, am I saying that is the Word of God? Well, we are reading the Word of God. And when you're given the eyes and ears and ability through years and years and years of study, you're going to be able to see these things. Wow. That is just absolutely amazing. Wow. Everything in here says it's all, and it's saying it's going to happen on an eclipse. Will it be the one in April? Well, there are many more studies that we need to do, but we do know that it will come with the darkening of the sun and the moon not giving its light, an eclipse. That they will come down out of the mountains like as of a great people. Is this a people that were meant to be first child? Like all the story I told you in the last, where Jacob stole his brother's birthright, and because he stole that, he was named Israel and became, I don't know. I don't know, no, but I sure see a whole lot of evidence and yet I still will withhold proclaiming something. But y'all guys see what I see, reading what I'm reading. Let me know in the comments what y'all guys truly think. You don't have to be mean, but you can be direct. Okay? Wow. I'm just so amazed. I don't think I'm going to go ahead and write this video. I'm going to keep this one at this point because this was perfect in many ways. And then we're going to pick up again and go, okay? We're going to go back and follow Esau. We're going to look at him, and we're going to go back into Rebekah. We're going to follow Rebekah back. We're going to follow Isaac, and we're going to follow the bloodlines, and we're going to follow them in both directions. We're going to look until we can see clearly. Right now, we're looking through the mist. We're looking through a rent in the veil. We can just see a little bit. The story will become more clear for us. And I sure hope you guys are here with me to do this. And I hope I'm here with you to do this. All right, I love you guys. I'm going to let you go for tonight. Our Father loves you. Continue seeking the truth, because it is what sets us free. Free from what? Damnation would be one good thing. Free from the deceptions, free from the lies, free, period. It means much more than I could even explain in words what it is to be free. I love you. Talk to you soon, guys.